against the board, okay? So for demonstration purposes right now, we'll start with the left. When I get into the wide view part, I will switch sides. All right, so he's standing. See how he's angled out like this? You need him to stand straight, because if he does that, it's gonna distort the shoulder a little bit, so I'm nice and straight. All right, I'm gonna adjust my, yes. All right, so for your AP internal, external, and gray sheet, your cassette is length crosswise. Okay. So find clavicle. Clavicle's here. Okay. What two bones make up the shoulder girdle?
Clavicle and scapula.
Correct. So we've got scapula here. I can go just below because it tells you to go medial 2 inches, and you can go just inferior to your scapula on the medial aspect. Coracoid's right here. Okay, you can find it on yourself too. So you have this little knot right here. Okay, you want to be an inch below it for this one, for your internal and external shoulder. Okay, I'm pretty much right where I need to be. The other thing too, you can see the silhouette of the shoulder in your light field, which is really nice.
Does it matter that his hands are crossed like that?
Not done yet.
Oh.
Not done yet. All right, so from here, I'm gonna have him, Tom's there, I'm gonna get you to put your hand down by your side and put your palm up for me, just like that, for your external, okay? All at this point, make sure that is on wall bucky. You will set your techniques, and if you are using AEC, remember it has to be center self when you're out in clinic. But here, 10 by 12, lengthwise, crosswise, collimation. It's very rare we collimate on these. Unless they're like super slender, you can collimate just a little. So the other thing too I want to point out, find the jugular notch. I'm going to have him come over towards me. Come over just towards me a little bit more. Right there. Split the difference with your light field. So I found jugular notch. I'm right in the center and my light field hits right center. That lets me know that I've got SC joint. Because I've got to see all of my clavicle on the shoulder, okay? Because it's part of the shoulder girdle, okay? Everybody's like, well, I can't see the shadow of the, I'm not worried about that. That's why we only see that little bit of the humerus, okay? I'm focusing here. Have your patient, tell them, don't breathe, don't move, take your exposure, okay?
And they can lean up against the board like that.
Yep, that's just what you want.
Just not like this.
Yeah, you don't want to lean it back against
And
it.
we collimate to the size of the IR. That's the only thing we collimate?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, just to make sure it's matches your orientation. Okay. All right. So from here, you will not have to move this or this. Come back, change out your set. Okay. All right. So from here, where your hand is, I'm gonna get you to turn it all the way in for me, just like that. This is easier for a patient than them doing this, because that ends up putting more strain here. Okay. So you can get him to put it on just like this. Now, his humeral epicondyles are perpendicular, letting me know I'm now internal, okay? All right, same thing again. Don't breathe, don't move, okay? He's fine turning his head, okay? The only thing you come over when you're doing this, just make sure, because sometimes your patients like to move side to side, so just make sure, again, you're splitting the difference, okay? That jugular notch with your light field. From here, because that's your external and your internal. I haven't had to touch this, haven't had to touch this. Perfect. What I showed y'all on Fox earlier, putting the palm of my hand against the shoulder, hits right about humeral head. These fingers hit top, this hits here, okay? That's joint space, okay? That's that 2 inches inferior, 2 inches medial that they're talking about, okay? So when I do that, now, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have you turn up towards me, okay? So from here, I'm actually gonna have to slide him away from me just a smidge, because you want this to transect, traverse right across that joint space. I'm like, but I've got all this. Not worried about that. I'm worried about joint space. Now, if you wanna have your patient with their hand here, you can, or you can have them hold it out. There's no right or wrong with you can do one of those two hand placements. Most patients are gonna wanna just do this. Cause if they really do have a true injury, they just wanna hold it still, okay? This is for glenoid, that open joint space that we want. This is your gray sheet or your AP oblique, okay? Your requisitions will tell you what specific ones you're doing, okay?
Will it say gray sheet?
Yeah, it'll say gray sheet. So, but yeah, I want it to come straight across that joint space, the intersecting point. Usually, the other thing too, if I have my hand right here, I position them, it ends up hitting my thumb right there, okay? So, that'd be for your gray sheet. Now, your thinner patients, I only have to do him about 35. Remember, the range is 35 to 45. Thinner patients, we gotta go a little bit steeper. We wanna go closer to 45, okay? Haven't had 3 projections. Haven't had to move anything. Literally, 1, 2, bam.
You didn't
Angle.
even have to move marker.
Exactly.
Make sure
Okay.
you're doing the correct shoulder. By the way, because this is all on the left shoulder, right?
And no
So-
shielding.
Yes, you do shield.
Oh.
You're paying attention. Like it. See, people are paying attention now. Yes, you are still going to shield your patient.
I just don't want to trip over.
No, this one and that one doesn't actually hold that well. So we're gonna pretend that he is shielded appropriately. From here, when we go to our Y view, shoulder Y view, we have to switch this lengthwise. First 3, they're across. Pop this down. If you have a hard time with these numbers matching up, find your little arrow here. Match it up with this one. If it looks like it's still not high enough, just come up until these arrows match, okay? So, actually, there we go. All right, so now we're gonna go for Y view. Normally, to keep yourself in the, because I see this a lot with students, when you go to oblique your patient, I'm gonna help turn the patient themselves, like, all right, have you turn this way for me? I keep my hand on the shoulder loosely, so that way I know that's the one that's gonna be here. Because I can't tell you how many times I end up seeing, all right, I'm gonna have you turn all the way around, and they end up doing the opposite shoulder. I see it all the time, okay? So just remember, if you're doing left shoulder, make sure you're still doing a left Y, okay? For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm gonna show you the right, okay? All right, so from here, patient, if he's like this on his belly, ask him how high he can pull it up. If he can pull it up to his shoulder, that's great, because again, it's pulling it into view. It really does help pull it into view, okay? But if they can only get it here, this is fine too, okay? Work with your patient. All right, so I'm gonna switch my collimation. I'm gonna go to my 10, 12 lengthwise. So here, I can see his scapular border right here, okay? So I take this, the bottom, the scapular border, inferior angle fits right here and this here. Okay, this is how I figure out so all right, I got him where I need him. This right here is my hand piece, lets me know that I actually have him where I need him in the Y, okay? My hand being straight just like this, he's fit right into here. And everybody gets confused because they're like, but the humeral head's not really touching. You're almost always gonna have a little bit of OID here. It's not always gonna look perfect, okay? Because again, this is what needs to be focused. So many people get stuck on the humeral head being centered when they're forgetting they need to glenoid cavity, okay?
So if they're leaning against the board, it's wrong.
Yeah, you don't wanna lean it against it,
Okay.
especially,
Not like this.
no, that's gonna really distort things.
So I'm saying it's straight.
Yeah, so from here, all right, okay, rotate you just a little, okay. So here, there's a couple different ways this is gonna work for people. So when we're setting up for shoulder Y, the shoulder, I'm gonna come down. This one here, it's gonna touch the tip. Depending on your hand, it's gonna range from touching the tip or to right here at the base of your nail. Okay, this is for this one, the Y view. Okay, that's what we want here. And then I can still find inferior border. Not that I'm worried about it, but you're still gonna see inferior border. I still have light below, so I'm okay. Okay, so since this is the right shoulder, for demonstration purposes, right marker.
Do you want all the scapula, shoulder? Why?
Yeah. So this is the one where you can adjust a little bit and come down if you need to. Like instead of where we were initially with the other one, you can come down just a little bit to make sure that I have, that's what I was talking about, putting my finger right here. I still have light field below. I have light field above. I know I'm okay. Okay. All right. That would be for your Y view. Okay, this is for your PA oblique. I'm going to show you an AP back on the left, and a lot of places, these are mainly done portable, but you will have some places just because they're done portable AP, they automatically do them AP. Not a fan of them because, as I mentioned before, it magnifies it a lot. You have a lot of OID, and the only benefit here now, because of digital, almost all cassettes are 14x17s, so they don't have to worry the 10x12. All right, put your back up against the board again. We're gonna do the AP one.
Your other back.
Yeah, the other back. So, all right, so I have his scapular border here that I can find, okay? So here, I need to rotate this. I do just reverse. So instead of being like this, bring my hand up.
Is
Okay.
this, which one is this?
This is just an AP.
Okay.
AP Y view. I showed this one. We like to this is not, for checkoff purposes, you have to do the PA.
Okay.
Not the.
No.
Okay.
I show the AP, we show you an idea of the AP because you will have some sites, that's where they prefer it. You can ask them, can I try a PA? They will let you do a PA. I have several students who are like, I don't like AP. As soon as you start getting a PA, you're good. So, here, do what? PAs are easier. Okay, so from here, I can do the same thing that I was doing before, but I want to make sure my crosshair hits right around humeral head. Okay, so rotate up just a little more to there you go. Now look how much OID I have. That's a lot. This is going to be magnified. Okay, so the reason why I've always been about fine detail, but of course I was also started when we were just converting from green film into CR, and then I went into DR. So I was to make it a little bit easier. But again, this is all it is for AP. And you're literally going to reach under your patient when you have the cassette under them, because this is for portable purposes, and you feel that border here to make sure it's where it needs to be. Yes, your question?
So with magnification, does that decrease small detail or increase it?
It decreases.
Look,
Decreases.
See how sharp the image is on here?
Mm-hmm.
When I move it away, the outline becomes blurrier.
Oh, okay.
That's OID.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's that
It's
big.
magnification.
Yeah, that's that object to image distance I was talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
That's where
Makes sense.
SID comes into play too. Okay. So, and we'll show that in just a second. All right. So that would be for your Y view. Okay. So we've done AP internal, external, gray sheet, and Y view. Those are your 4 standard projections that you do for shoulders. Okay. Since I'm already lengthwise changing out my cassette, I am going to go ahead and go into scapula. Now, where am I centering at for my scapula?
2 inches
Inferior
to this corner.
coronary.
to coracoid.
Corcoid.
Where's the coronoid?
On your
Conoid is
elbow.
In your elbow, correct. There you go. All right, so now we're going to go into scapular. Put your back against the board for me. All right, so we get you to take this arm here, take it out, and put it on top of your head. This just makes it easier. You will have a patient, if they want to do this, that's fine. But depending on what's going on, that's going to get tiring for them really quickly. All right, so I'm still lengthwise. I have a little light here. I can find scapular border, which is great. Should be okay. So actually come down. So if you want, when you come down to get your 2 inches, I usually do this ahead of time. I only go 1.5 inches on this one because when they come up, it puts it into the 2 inches. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All right, put your arm back up when you hit, sir. Nice pop. So, all right, line your bucky up. Yes, you do have sight to these move together, which is really nice, but some of your techs, when you're early on and learning, they will turn it off. So you don't get used to it. So, all right, so I'm gonna offset him just a little. Okay, have just enough marker here. I have enough light field here, because again, we've pulled it out. So we have to match it, okay? So, pop my marker right here in the light field. Okay. I'm not worried that I can't see up here, okay? I'm not worried about that, because I'm still okay. I'm still my 2 inches. I can find the inferior border. And if you come find inferior border and all of a sudden you have so much light down here, please come back up. That's too much light below. Like, maybe 2 finger widths below is fine, maybe even 1 is fine. But if you have, like, I can put my whole hand here, that's, we don't want that. So, but again, you're offsetting. So this one, it's like you're literally directly below the coracoid, whereas shoulder, it tells you 2 inches below the coracoid, even though you're kind of off of the coracoid, a little more medial. So here, right there. That would be, and even when he puts his shoulder down, I still have light field above him. So,
Is it harder to feel for that on women?
what, coracoid?
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Depends on how thick they are.
Yeah, so, right here on you, so, and clavicle, yours is right, you're right here. That bony part that I'm hitting.
Just don't press it too hard. 'Cause it's
If
not
they
very
do have an injury, so clavicle. Ooh, he's got great coracoid. Like, dang. Everybody feel his coracoid. Sorry, Lynn, you're gonna get felt up for a second. Feel right where my thumb is. So it's squishy, and then you come up and you feel that hard spot
Oh yeah.
just below the clavicle. So you find clavicle and just below it, that right there.
Oh. Oh
That's
yeah.
coracoid.
I feel it.
So find clavicle, come just below it, squishy, and then come over.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So on thick patients, you know that it's just inferior to the clavicle, so if you can't feel it, you'll always know where it should
Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but everybody's got them. But yes, don't dig into your patients because I see it. Because I'm showing you so you can feel it. But on checkoff day, they have everywhere to go. Ow! What are you doing? Because the patient will do that. Don't do that.
be. Don't get too handsy.
I feel like them doing that's gonna hurt their shoulder even more.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that was AP scapula. So from AP scapula, going back into our PA oblique, the only thing that's different now, all right, spin around, sir. Going back to the right. All right, bring your arm back behind your back. If your patient can do this, that's great. Even if they can only get it out to here, as much they can, I can still pull this out. That's his scapula coming out right here, okay? All right, so from here, same thing again, I'm just setting him up like I normally would, okay? Come forward just a little bit. So here, and it's literally on the border. This one I'm actually gonna come down just a little bit because I need light field below. So I'm gonna come down. Okay, adjust. So this one here, this one hits, when we're doing this one, it hits, depending on your patient. So inferior border here. So when your scapula hits between here, base here, and your hip joint. When you're lining up, depending on your thumb, it's either gonna hit the bed of your nail or right here at your hip joint. If you use this here. If you want, you can just find the border, stick your finger at the base, look at your light field below. If you got a little light field, just go from there too. Okay? So, and marker. This one here, you can collimate a little side to side. Okay? Because I don't need to see, necessarily need spine in it, but you still want it to traverse just across the, literally needs to cradle the scapula. Okay? That would be for your lateral scapula. Okay. All right, you can turn back around, Ted. Questions so far?
So
Not too bad so far.
So that was the wide view of the scapula?
Yes, that's just lateral scapula. Yeah.
so you find the inferior border of the scapula and then go 2 inches above that, or
You can do it that way too.
okay.
So, but yeah, they, as long as you're mid, right in the
Okay,
middle
right
of
in
it,
the middle.
you are fine.
Okay.
For scapula, yes.
Okay.
The shoulder wide, you're a little bit higher. Because I'm not, if I don't see the bottom of it, I'm not worried about it. You're still gonna see it, but
Mhm.
you won't see the inferior angle be closer to the bottom of your IR than a normal lateral.
But you're talking about that for clavicle, right? The second one that you just said?
Yes.
Okay.
That's for we're doing shoulder, yes.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Yes. Thank you for helping. She said
She was actually my patient.
yeah. I was kind of hoping that was gonna happen. I was like, I love Jen. She's not in here enough. It's like,
Mr.
okay.
Goddard was saying she was a little rusty.
Yeah.
I didn't show them the step out method for the.
It's not necessary. Yeah. Now, when it comes to clavicle, I know they say you can do the lordotic, but you're not going to make a patient do that because if they do have a lot of injury, any kind of pressure coming from the back is going to radiate forward. That's why we automatically just do the 15 when we're doing the axial. Okay. All right. So he's going to put his back up against the board. Okay. So got it crosswise. All right. So I find clavicle. Okay. Most of your patients, if they really do have an effed up clavicle, it's going to be obvious.
Just don't go palpating.
Okay, so I literally want it on the scapula first.
On the
Okay.
clavicle.
Thank you. All right, so joint to joint, I split, I have jugular notch, okay, centering on my clavicle. Go ahead and just take a breath in for me. Let it out. See, he doesn't move a lot. His doesn't move. You are gonna have patients on taking Exater, they're gonna do that. Tell them not to, just tell them, all right, I need you to take a nice deep breath in, and it barely moves. But you're gonna have those patients where it's gonna be a big movement. So I'm gonna adjust a little bit, okay? You need to collimate down, okay? Because I need clavicle. I'm not worried about shoulder, okay? I'm worried about clavicle. Pop it right in there, okay? Don't worry about side to side. Leave it open at your 12, okay? And I'm still good, okay? Again, I don't need all that lung space. Collimate down, okay? You can have a nice deep, take a nice breath, hold it, take your exposure, okay? That's for AP, big deal. They can, as long as he is straight, he doesn't have to have his hand any kind of way, he can just stand there straight, okay? All right, so from here, axial. Do not have this light on and angle your tube, because you're gonna blind your patient. Angle your tube first, and then have them turn their head just in case. So, you're gonna go starting at 90, and this one actually works really well, because we're gonna go to 15.
You're still closing your eyes anyways.
Yep,
I always tell my patients to close their eyes. I have to angle the tube.
because you never know.
It's a valid.
Alright, alright, take a nice deep breath in for me. See how it goes up a little bit? Okay, alright, take that another deep breath in for me. Alright, I'm gonna set it right there at the clavicle. Okay, breathe and relax. Switch your picture just a little bit. Ted's one of the exceptions because he doesn't move a lot, but you are gonna have those as soon as they, especially your larger patients, they're belly breathers, they're gonna tummy and that clavicle's really gonna move, okay? So, now that so his clavicle is up here, but see how I'm just below it now? All right, so from here, all right, go ahead and take that nice breath in for me. Hold it, puts it into profile. Take your exposure, tell them to breathe and relax, okay? Always have them while you're here, take that nice, they say, just take a nice breath in. Don't do deep, because if you say deep, they're gonna like, and you're like, no. Just take a nice breath in and have them hold it so you can adjust. All right, go ahead and breathe. We're gonna do that again in just a second, okay? That way you can.
Made like that?
Yeah, you're gonna be collimated.
Oh no, I meant for all the projections. Are they all made on when they take the deep breath and hold
So
it?
all of your shoulder, just don't breathe, don't move. Shoulders, you can just do don't breathe, don't move.
Okay.
Okay? Suspended respiration, that's all that is.
Okay.
It's your AP axial clavicle is the main one that we want. Nice breath in to adjust, because what you're doing is you're also helping to see that angle even better and to project it higher up above the ribs. That's essentially what we're trying to do, is get it off the ribs more. So that would be your AP axial clavicle. He would be shielded, okay? Shield your patient. Okay. All right. That's just it for clavicle, AP axial clavicle, okay? That's it for your 10 by 12s. So now we're gonna move to a 14 by 17. Questions before I move on to AC joints and humerus?
And everything's done at 40 SID so far?
So far,
Okay.
so far. The only one that goes out to 72 is our AC joints. So I'm actually gonna go ahead, since I'm already at 40, I'm gonna go ahead and do humerus. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and do humerus next, okay? Make it a little bit easier. All right. All your humerus lengthwise, okay? 14 by 17. And yes, for the love of God, remember to take the angle off of your thing, because I see it. They leave it on. I'm like, what are you setting out for? Oh, never mind. Just letting you know. Okay. All right. So humerus. All the way up to my 17. I'm just gonna go 14 right now and I'll adjust. All right, back against the board, whichever one you want to give me. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna have him come over. I need humerus, okay? So I'm gonna slide him away from me a little bit. So take a little step over to there. Okay. So have him. Remember, we gotta do AP. Palm up. So as if we're doing an external shoulder. Okay. Same thing for an AP humerus. Okay. So got him here. Cool. Great. But I can't really see joint space down here. Okay. So I'm gonna come down just a little bit. He's got nice long arms. So, but I still have light field above. Okay. So I've got humeral head, so we're okay. Okay. I now have joint space here. Go ahead and make sure all this is lined up. Okay. So from here, I'm gonna have him, and if he brings his arm back a little bit, that is okay. Some of your patients, you can actually slightly turn a little, just a little, and it gets the arm a little bit closer. Because even if you are just standing here like that, that's okay too. So you're gonna see a couple of different things.
Quick question.
All right, yes.
Does it matter if can they bring their arm up a little bit, or does it have to be down?
You're gonna see here in just a second.
Okay, all right.
It's all gonna depend on your patient, because if they have a really bad injury, they may only be able to bring it up so much. So I have him out here. I can see joint space at this point. So now This and this have to be lined up before you rotate your collimator box, okay? So from here, going from here, now I'm gonna collimate side to side, okay? I can still see joint space. I've got it below it, so I know I'm gonna see. I've got joint space here, because I'm doing the left. I'm gonna pop that right in there, okay? But the key is I have to have, and he's the exception because again, this is another reason why I'm glad I have him here for this, specifically because he does have a long humerus. Hence the reason he is making funnies about pediatric humeruses, because he's got a larger humerus. But I can see, I got joint here. If I put my hand right here, that's humeral head. I still have joint space. I could still be above here. I'm touching at this point, I'm touching like a chromium area up here. So I know I'm okay. Same thing here. I can see light field here. Again, he's an exception. I've had one patient like him that I actually had to get 2 separate images because he had really long freaking arms. I'm like, dude, it's like the equivalent of doing a tib fib. You gotta do 2 of the tib, okay? But make sure, can't tell you how often I see this. Get everything, it's like, oh man, I need to move, and they do this. Leaving this alone, because I think, oh, I'm good. But now, if you find you have to do that, set this back straight and then re-angle, okay? Do not, I see it all the time. Okay, now from here, I'm gonna open up a little bit more so on the side. So from here, now that we've got our AP, okay, so what I'm gonna get you to do now is just bend your elbow just a little bit like this. So they can do this, and if they can turn their hand a little bit, that's fine. But all I need is the condyles perpendicular. That is all I need. Those epicondyles right here, as long as they are perpendicular to my IR, that's what I need for a lateral humerus, okay? So I may have to adjust because see how his arm jets out, okay? It's like superhero pose. So if that works for him, if he can bring his hand down a little to bring it back into the field, bring him back a little. You may have to open up collimation. I peek on the inside because sometimes you think you're okay and you ain't got no light field here. So at this point, I'm gonna move that. I still have joint space. My bend is here. I can see a little bit of elbow in here, so I'm okay. I'm not worried about elbow, but it's letting me know that I have distal humerus in here. Does that make sense? Okay. This is the one where you usually have to, you're like doing this, adjusting them to the light field. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. So, but that's what we want for that. It's literally just going from here so they can do this, or if they rotate their hand. There's no right or wrong on this. I'm worried about the condyles. There's that humeral condyle right here. The epicondyles need to be perpendicular, okay? That's your 2 views of your humerus. That's it. Okay? Again, this and this need to be matched up before you rotate your collimator box and collimate. Okay? That's huge. Alright. That's your 2 views of your humerus. Everybody okay so far?
Yes.
Alright, so now I'm going to go crosswise. So now we're going to go into AC joints. Oh, too high. That's probably too. Nope. Alright, back against the board, sir. Alright, so I'm going to switch. There's a reason why I'm showing y'all this right now at 40. Because we need to do these at 72. Everybody starts, gets all their stuff out of the way, and you got, oh, I got AC joints, cool. They leave it at 40. I'm gonna show y'all something. Ted's got broad shoulders, okay? Let me get him centered for just a second. All right. Remember, I told you I center right on the jugular notch. We're gonna collimate down. His jugular notch is right here. I'm hitting right at it, okay? We'll line this up. Pop a marker in here. Now what's wrong with this? Because he's got broad shoulders, I can't get ACs, okay? Now even on a smaller patient, some of them you can, like I would probably be able to get you, Lexi, and Bailey. I'd probably be able to get y'all at 40. But I need to scale you appropriately. Now watch. I'm going from 40. Number one, my 40 magnet is now magnified, the field of view. So I'm gonna switch it down to my 72-inch collimation. So I'm gonna go 17, and then I'm gonna go, I can't do that. So I do need to collimate down anyway, so I am gonna go ahead and collimate here. Now because Ted does have broad shoulders, I would actually have to do him too. I'd have to do unilateral. Right now we're just gonna focus on the one. Okay, I have to do them one at a time. But him, we're just gonna worry about the one big one. So, okay.
You put both?
Mm-hmm. That's just habit. As long as you have correct marker on the correct side, I'm fine on check off day. This is just what I would always do. Because we had this one radiologist, she's like, can you mark both sides, please? I'm like, really? If I can't put one up, you can't tell the other. Just do it for me. Fine. There's only one particular one at VCU. So that's what we always did anytime we had AC joints. Okay. All right. So when we're centered here, this literally goes straight across and hits AC joints. That's why this is the focal point. Okay. Going straight across. And I'm just hitting, his AC joints are right at the edge of this. I still wouldn't get him. Okay. All right, but he would be the one that we'd have to do the two 10x12s. And you would just center appropriately, but this is what we want for normal. Without weights, it's your first one. Just tell him to take a nice breath. Just tell him to hold the breath. Don't breathe, don't move. Okay? All right. Where's my other? Okay. All right, once we've done those, they go over the wrists. All right, I'll let you have them pull your shoulders down. Just relax. Don't pull against them, please. You do have to remind patients, because even though they're doing this, they're gonna try and wrap their hands around this and still try and pull up, because it may hurt. But we wanna see that separation, okay? It's like, I know this hurts, but that's all we're gonna do. And usually, so if this was without weights, I'd switch them up, straight up. That's how we angle our markers with and without, and we just annotate it in at the end. This will be when you're doing post-processing. So that's what we would do. They used to have it, I don't know if they still, some of the sites still have like the markers with weights and without anymore.
I haven't had to do AC joints with weights.
So, but yeah, it's usually, you just annotate it and we just angle our markers a certain way to let us know when we're post-processing what's what. Because you're gonna have those that it's, even though you're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look right. It means that just because there was literally no separation. There's no difference with or without weights, so.
Also, don't make them hold it like this.
Yeah, has to be over the wrist.
Because they can drop it.
And if they need to, tell them if you need to drop your weights, drop your weights. Because they may be ready at that point, okay? And that's it for AC joints, okay? AC joints is with and without weights, because even if we do AC joints, we don't do axials. And if they do, it's literally on one side. They're just gonna do, it's like, all right, can you do a quick axial on this one side that has the separation on it? That's it. Questions? Comments? Concerns?
We will have to do it with weights on check-off day.
With or without.
Okay.
It'll tell you on your requisition whether it's with weights or
And we're
without.
doing 5 positions? or
You
5
still get
projections?
5. You just don't know which. I do have 1 or 2 requisitions that will have 3 body parts. It may be like 2, 2, and 1. Like 2 from one, 2 from another, and 1 from one. You might have, say, 2 views of, say you might have a humerus, You might have AC joints with or without weights, one of the two, and then say scapula. Somebody did like scapula, humerus, and AC joints together, but it's only one view of the AC joints to give you your 5. Okay, but I usually try to do like shoulder. Shoulder is very specific. It'll tell you all 4 views of the shoulder, and you might have a view of AC joints, or may have 3 views of your shoulder and 2 views of a humerus, or 2 views of something else. Okay, but of the 5 things we went over: shoulder, scapula, humerus, clavicle, and AC joints. Most of them are just 2 views. The only one that isn't is what?
Shoulder.
Correct, shoulder. Now there is a couple of your ortho sites too. When you get to that point, which we're trying to make it to where all of you go strictly to hospitals if we can. We're trying to avoid ortho straight out the gate because that tends to mess students up big time. Some of your sites, they do like this slight caudal angle when they do a PA. And they're like, man, I do this angle and it gets my Y view every time. That's a cheating method for to ensure they get the Y every time. So, and it's usually like 5 to 10 degrees caudal, that's it.
Not a ton. For scapula, right?
Um,
Shoulder.
Yeah, but it's one site,
Scapula.
something, yeah, it's for the supraspinatus area. But yeah, it's, they do it almost on every Y view.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
OSC does that.
okay, that's the one I was trying to think of. And I know SMOC does it on a couple of them.
I haven't done the spot.
I know SMOC is certain docs would request the angle on it because they want to see an extra piece of anatomy on those. So, all right, who's ready to start?